What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Lions Talk Live Tuesday morning show edition. And you know what? We've got the Lions player who's sending a bold statement to the rest of the NFL, and I think he might be pretty spot on with a lot of this. We'll break that all down during the main topic of the day today. We'll get into the 5 headlines now. We'll get into all that stuff, but I think this will be one of the biggest off seasons in Detroit Lions history. And during the main topic of the day, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper with some of the comments made. If you think about where the Lions are, where they are with the rebuild, I guess you could say, or the revitalization of the franchise, this might be the most biggest test, fork in the road, whatever you want to throw at MC Brad Holmes they've ever been. That's why I do think they're going to be a little bit different with some of their strategies this offseason. I do think there's a higher potential the Lions could really go after 1 or 2, maybe 3 players, I guess you could say, in free agency or a trade or whatever. The draft is one thing. And I think as far as keeping a franchise going long term, the draft is best. I also think there's a time where you got to take that big swing for the fences and see if you can put yourself over the top. We'll see what Brad Holmes ultimately chooses to do. At the end of the day, that's going to be his choice with the pocketbooks, but we'll get into that a little bit later. All right, real quick, let's get the show rolling and going. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that march for 13,100 subs. We are now 45 subs away from that, and so if you can help out with that, that would be most welcomed. Also, if you have half a second of time, it is free of charge. Doesn't cost you a dime. Reach on down. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that like button. Hit the share button. All those help out the channel exponentially. So if you could take a free second and do that, I would be thankful. Last but never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, give me a call or shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Let me use over 30 years in the real estate industry to help you out. It can be anything from looking for a new house, selling your house. Maybe you want some vacant land to build a house, go hunting, maybe just hang out and stare at the stars. I don't know, whatever you want to do with that land, let me know. Commercial property, I handle that as well. If some of you have asked, yes, I do also handle fallout shelters. I'm one of a few people across the nation who actually qualified to do that. So if you need me to help you find something to survive the zombie apocalypse or maybe the asteroid strike or something like that, whatever it is, or maybe it's the lack of Mountain Dew that may take the world into a craze, give me a call or shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. And yes, I'm aware they're talking about changing Mountain Dew. Anyways, from that, let's go ahead and get this show rocking and rolling and getting on over to the first segment of the show. And as you know, that is 5 headlines now. Five glorious off-season headlines coming at you. First one, hey, who would have thought this? Could the Rams and Lions make another blockbuster move? Question mark. This is from LA Rams on SI, sportsillustrated.com. Story by Dominic Michella with this one. And as Dominic kind of suggests, he thinks that the Lions might actually be in the conversation with LA Rams about another key player. And if you're thinking it's Aaron Donald coming out of retirement, no, it's not. But there is a lot of speculation. It hit the wires yesterday that Cooper Kupp could be on his way out of L.A. Would the Lions actually want him? That's the thought I would throw at you guys. And I know my brother Tim and a bunch of you guys sent me some stuff about this yesterday. Here's my opinion. You can have your own. Cooper Kupp can play. Ain't no doubt about that. But is he available that often? That would be my worry. I wouldn't give up a ton for him, but it is an interesting story because if you think about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Cooper Kupp, Sam Laporta. I mean, my gosh, there's only one football to go around, and that would be a tough assignment for any defense to really kind of lock down, especially if the Lions were able to re-sign Kevin Zeitler, and then Chris Mahogany is what we think he's going to be. Man, that Lions offense might be just the greatest offense the NFL has ever seen. It would be in rare air for sure. Cooper Kupp, we all saw what he did the first game of the regular season last year. He had something like, I think, 3,000 receptions, and poor Terrion Arnold had to guard him the majority of the time. Cooper Kupp wants out. He will turn 32 in June, is coming off another injury-filled season in which he racked up only 59.2 receiving yards per game. His lowest average since 2017 for a total of 710 yards. So, do you think he should be a Lion? I guess let me know in the comments section. Put why for yes and for no for Cooper Kupp becoming a Detroit Lion. My personal thought is maybe I'd give up a 7th round pick for him, but I probably wouldn't give up a ton. All right, Lions named. Speaking of trades, Lions named, man, I can't talk today, top trade destination for a $125 million star. The Heavy, story by Nathan Doherty. And in case you were asleep yesterday or just didn't turn on your internet, you're probably maybe not aware that Myles Garrett wants out of the Cleveland Browns. I have a Browns insider friend of mine who we'll just say he has a lot of familiarity with the situation, sent me a message yesterday and just said, he really thought that the Browns were on the way back up this offseason until his heart was dashed and slammed when the news finally broke about Myles Garrett wanting out of Cleveland. The Scooby doing this. I know we did this yesterday in a second video after the morning show. Let's also be fair. We're going to be hearing a lot about this until wherever Myles Garrett ends up going at the end of the day, unless the Browns can talk him into staying. Myles Garrett is a Detroit Lion as far as the personality type, the type of player MC/DC wants on that defensive line. I doubt if there's a person watching this show that if everything could just, hey, if he could just walk in the door and be a Detroit Lion, that we would say no to that. Everybody would say, yeah, he's a prototypical Detroit Lions player. We all get it. His impact, the dream scenario of having him next to DJ Reader, Lee McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, all that stuff. It would probably be arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. Maybe one of the best defensive lines we've seen in a long time in the NFL. Can the Lions actually get him? Man, I don't know. But if you want to check out the story, Nathan Doherty does go through a lot of different scenarios like everybody has in the last 24 hours. What would it take for this team to get him, that team to get him? There's speculations all across the board what the Lions would give up, whether you're watching on this channel, somebody else's channel. I know, again, I can't remember his name. There was a guy, NFL insider, Pete something or other. Anyways, he was on Rich Eisen yesterday talking about it. Did mention the Detroit Lions as a destination. ESPN mentioned the Lions as a destination. We all get it. The Lions are in that win now mode as far as we can see how good they are. A player or two like this would really push them probably up everybody's Super Bowl contenders, favorites, whatever list. Myles Garrett wants to be a winner. He is 29, going to be 30 coming up, and I think he understands his contract is what it is. It's time for him to win now, or it's not going to happen. 3 to 4 years from now, Myles Garrett is more than likely near the end of his career, if not over. So if he's not going to win now, when is he going to do it? I think that's why he wants out of Cleveland. And yes, he wants to play for a team like the Detroit Lions or whoever else, somebody else that he feels can get him in the Super Bowl. Jared Goff announces unexpected offseason news. Chris Shad with this one of Detroit Jock City. Jared Goff's having quite the interesting offseason, and it's in a multiple different ways. Yes, he's got a wife who apparently, if I understood the article that my brother Tim sent me yesterday, is back in modeling or whatever, going to be on SI cover or something like that. That's one thing. Yes, Jared Goff is a part of a group looking to bring the WNBA team back to Detroit. I hope they do. He wants to be a part of ownership like that in a pro sports franchise. You're seeing more and more current athletes and even recently retired athletes get into that game. The other thing is Jared Goff announced he is working on his mobility again this offseason. I think most of us would say if we can be as objective as we try to be, I guess you could say, would all agree Jared Goff was more mobile last year than he has really in recent years. It doesn't mean he was out there running all over the place, but he was getting to the sidelines, extending plays, adding a little bit of life to it. And apparently Goff wants to continue that trend. So he has hired a couple different people to work with him this offseason. Who knows? Crazy Legs Goff might be out there averaging 3 to 4 yards a carry as he bumbles and hopefully doesn't fumble up the field. But I think this is a good move for him just to do anything he can to keep flexibility, mobility. Jen would talk to you about this to death if I let her on air about that kind of stuff. But also becoming a bigger and bigger weapon, keeping to find ways to evolve his game. Is he ever going to be a big runner? Probably not. I don't see that in his wheelhouse ever. But if he could just provide enough to where defenses have to at least somewhat account for him scrambling, you know what? That's probably not a bad move for us at all. Speaking of Jared Goff, Goff reacts to John Morton replacing Ben Johnson as OC. Yard Barker with this one. Zach Wasink with this. And I think Zach does a pretty good job of talking to Goff, talking about Morton. And hey, we're all speculating on what this is going to mean for the Detroit Lions offense, for its quarterback, etc. Goff offered some thoughts, and his thoughts were this. He liked the hire. He liked it a whole lot. In fact, I know he was asked about Tanner Exran, said, hey, it would have been a great hire there. Some of that I think is PR stuff, just being polite, etc. in front of the mic. But Goff does give some real good insights here about the play action aspect, the running aspect that he does anticipate Morton's going to add a little bit more to. Has nothing but high praise for Ben Johnson and all he's done. But Jared Goff does dive in and break down why he really thought John Morton was a key hire this offseason for the Detroit Lions. The familiarity is one aspect. I mean, he was with the Lions just a couple seasons ago. He was a part of that 2022 renaissance of Goff and the Detroit Lions offense, and he does point out some things that happened that season to the offense that we should probably anticipate more this year. Remember, some of those trick plays that we saw starting to emerge in 2022, that was because of John Morton. He does also point out just some of the run blocking assignments that will be changed he's anticipating with Morton and how that will aid or facilitate a stronger running game in Detroit. All right, why David Shaw's return to coaching is more important to the Detroit Lions than you think, by DT AP Wire. So Shaw, if most of you guys remember, he was with the Stanford Cardinals for a little over a decade coaching. Then he kind of went into front office moves and stuff like that, kind of got off the field and into the offices doing some things. David Shaw's impact, or expected, I should say, impact on the Detroit Lions offense, passing attack, etc., should not be overlooked. We did see a lot of stuff in the recent years where more crossing patterns, midfield type moves with Ben Johnson's offense. It would appear to me, and as this story kind of goes into, with the addition of John Morton and now Shaw, what that means for the Detroit Lions offense, it's probably going to become more vertical play action. Now, you think of someone like Jameson Williams or whoever else the Lions may bring in at receiver. Maybe they keep Tim Patrick and have him go deep shots down the field. But it suggests in this story that with the combination of Morton and the running game that we were just talking about, that is going to set up a lot more deep shots down the field, aggressive shots down the field to some of the star Detroit Lions players. And not that St. Brown won't be involved in that, but I'm going to guess most of us anticipate, hey, if you can have Jameson Williams push 2 defenders deep, you know what? That means there's 9 guys near the line of scrimmage, or at least somewhere up there, and it helps with the running game because there's less guys in the box. If you're going to keep 8 guys in the box on a consistent basis to deal with Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, or whoever else is coming out of the backfield, Crazy Legs Goff, it means you got less guys that can help stop deep shots down the field, and it suggests David Shaw's return is going to play a big part in that. It's probably not a coincidence that you had John Morton sign and then David Shaw sign quickly thereafter. All right, we'll get on out of that and into now the main topic of the day. getting a little bit of cold. Jen's got a bad one, and I can feel I'm getting dried out in my nasal passages and stuff. So, all right. Anyways, main topic of the day here. Hey, Lions Star is upset and talking. We are putting the rest of the NFL, the league, on notice now. Meek Robinson took to the mic yesterday talking to a number of different reporters. If you guys have been watching any stuff, press row, etc., leading into the Super Bowl, you do see a lot of Detroit Lions players there. Yes, Meek is talking, and you know what? He's not the only one. There have been quite a few people from the Detroit Lions in the last day or two with the Pro Bowl and all that stuff have taken to the hot mic moment and said, hey, they are not happy at all about the loss to the Washington Commanders. They put it on themselves. They put it on nobody else other than themselves for what has happened. Meek Robinson, though, talking specifically to SI.com, amongst other people, said, hey, this is the season we need to go do it. We need to do this right now. This is a team that can get it all. I look around here, the two teams in the Super Bowl, and I say this to everybody. We can beat these mugs. We can get after them. They aren't any better than us. I'm not afraid to upset anybody with these comments. This is my opinion, and my opinion is this. Detroit Lions are Super Bowl champions next year. Prove me wrong. Right now, I'm telling the whole NFL. You hear me now? I'm telling you now. I'm coming after you guys, and the Lions are coming after you. This ain't nobody stopping us. We are going to get to it, and I believe in Brad Holmes. I believe in what we're doing this offseason. We're going to get healthy, and I'll say this right now. We win in this thing next year, end quote. So when you talk about Meek Robinson, I don't think anybody watches this guy and say he isn't a confident cat. This guy gets after people. He is physical. He's not afraid to vocally express himself on the field to the other team. And I like the fact he's saying stuff like this. If you watch the interview, he's clearly talking with emotions. That's what I like to see as a coach. I don't want to see somebody who's just reading off of a card or a teleprompter or something like that. Anybody can do that jazz. When you get guys into their thoughts, into their feelings, and they actually take the mask off, be themselves, that's where I think you see nothing but you're going to figure out who you're dealing with there. Meek Robinson, I hope they re-sign this guy. I get he's got 1 year left, but after that, I hope we keep him. He's not that old, man. He's only like 26 or something like that. I don't hold me to that, but he's not a particularly old cornerback by any stretch of the imagination. He's physical. He's confident. He plays the ball pretty well. I like the fact he sets the edge as far as a secondary defender coming on up in his support. There's nothing down I see with this guy, so why not keep him? And I get he's less than happy, probably like everybody in the Detroit Lions, right, about losing to Washington. He goes on and talk about a lot of different stuff. He does go ahead and say that he's as responsible for as anybody else as the Lions not getting to the gold. And I did just confirm he is 26 years old, so he'll be 27 next year. If he plays like he did this past season, I think the Lions are going to keep him and re-sign him for at least another 2 to 3 years. After that, who knows? But he does go on to talk about, hey, what Aaron Glenn brought to the table. Yes, he's not happy that he left for the Jets, but wishes him well. I mean, not happy because he did want him to stay here with Detroit, but also talks a lot about how passionate he is as a player, how much he likes playing for MCDC amongst Kelvin Shepard and other Lions assistants because of their passion, because of the fact that they're just who they are. They give you, as he puts it, real talk. They give you exactly their honest thoughts. They don't try to sugarcoat anything. They don't try to do coach talk or speak. They're just talking from their heart. And because of that, he said he loves playing for the Lions. Not that he didn't like the Raiders, but he loves Detroit even more. And if you guys want, you can find a couple different areas, a couple different stories regarding this. Meek Robinson, I think he's right, though. I think at the end of the day, when you look at what happened with the Lions, this might ultimately be the fuel that really pushes them to a higher level. We all talked about last offseason what happened with the 49ers. And yes, it was a terrible thing to blow a 17-point lead. I get all that. But I think the fuel to the fire last year was one thing. I think the fuel that's burning the fire this year is a completely different thing. I think St. Brown's going to come in pissed off. I think Penei Sewell is going to take his edge to another level. I think you guys get what I'm saying. The fact that they didn't get there this year, and on top of how Washington kind of made us look in the playoffs, I think it's not just fuel to the fire. It is jet fuel to the fire. It is going to burn through steel this offseason. I think every guy on this team is going to have the best offseason they've ever had in their life because they are so emotionally upset. If you watch the interviews with Amik, and yeah, he's still nursing that broken wing and everything. He's talking from the heart, and he's talking with some energy. I mean, that dude probably drank 4 Mountain Dews before he got on the mic. But you get my point. I think it's not just the team, though. It's also the coaches that feel the same way. I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes feels the same way. We're going to be talking about it all offseason. It's the nature of the offseason, especially when you're one of the NFL's best teams. Who wants to play here in Detroit? If you're watching this show, you're probably been a Lions fan for, we'll just say, at least 5 to 10 years, something like that. You probably remember a time when nobody wanted to be in Detroit. This last offseason, even up to the day of the 53-man cut down, you could see everybody realistically wants to come to Detroit. It's now a destination place. It's now a place everybody enjoys the idea. Hey, if I can get over there and play, I'd be okay with that right away. Sign me up, get my agent, to set that deal up. We get it. So we're because of that, you're going to see reports like we had yesterday. Myles Garrett wants to be a Detroit Lion or wants to play here. Somebody else is going to want to get traded here. Whatever you want to say, it's probably the best season ever, off season ever, to be a Lions fan, because every key free agent, trade contender, whatever, is going to be targeted here, and there's going to be some validity to it. Is everybody going to come here? No. But I do think people like Amik Robinson, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, whoever else on the team, they're going to be making some phone calls to players. Amik Robinson said that we're trying to send a message to the NFL that we're coming for you. I think that's going to involve recruiting, basically. This offseason, every guy on this team is going to do what they can to get their buddy, somebody they believe in, their friend, to come over to the Detroit Lions to help chase that gold. The other part of that is, let's consider this. You talk to guy A, B, C, and D. Well, guess what? They talk to 3 or 4 other guys. Everybody's talking about the Detroit Lions and signing with the Detroit Lions. Man, can you imagine if I got to play on that D with that defensive line? Man, can you imagine if I got to be wide receiver number 3 or 4 with that offense? Man, can you imagine if I could be the backup? I mean, you get it. You get it. Everybody who's going to want to be here because they do think there's a chance for this team, not just to win the NFC North a 3rd straight time, not just to have an opportunity to be the number 1 seed again, but to legitimately get after the Super Bowl. Duke Crew, what do you think? Is this the season? Is this the rocket fuel burning on that fire that is going to help take this team to a whole new level? Personally, I think so. I think we're going to come out and whoop that butt next year. I get everybody's going to talk about, the schedule, strength of schedules, this or that. I don't think it's going to matter. When you're the best team out there, it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the field. If you really believe in your coaches, if you really believe in your front office, if you really believe on the guys on the field, I do think we're going to win 12 or 13 games next year. And I think there's probably going to be a couple of games that are going to be yawners at halftime. You're just going to beat them down that bad. This offense is stacked. That defense, before all the injuries, let's be honest, it was a top 5 defense. Maybe you could say number 2 or 3 in the NFL. All the injuries happened. And you know what? Now you got some draft picks. Now you got some free agency money. Now you got guys, and I'm not going to name names, but you guys get it. There are some guys that say, hey, you know what? I like that scenario in Detroit. I want to go play in Detroit. All right, let's go ahead and get over to the comment section. I believe Royal Lions UK Anthony is going to join us in about 7 minutes. So let me try to power through some comments here before he gets here, and then obviously we'll finish up the show with the Dew Crew comments. And I see I'm a couple comments deep here, so I am scrolling to the top of the screen. JDC, morning all, back at you. JDC, tick, 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 and the ticking is here. Bo, good morning, Dooku. Let me make this perfectly clear. Woo! I like the way you're thinking. Detroit D, greetings, sanitation, everyone. Same to you. Moonscar, good morning. Dooku starting up. JDC, Bo, how are you, fellas? Hopefully they're all doing well. Robert, greetings, sanitation. Same to you. Got a Lions Talk Live fan. Good morning. Trey, what's going on, everyone? Question mark. Robertson is no joke. Like him a lot personally. I'm hoping the loss to Washington puts that match to us this offseason. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to light a fire, or has lit a fire, I should say. JDC Moonscar, morning. I'm doing a okie dokie. That is good. Robert, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan and Duker. The Lions are the grooviest, Adio. I like the way you're thinking. Clark, good morning, all. So I have to ask, do we all really think Myles is coming to Detroit? Is possible? Possible, yes. I just can't see Holmes giving up what the Browns are going to ask. That's the $1 million question. He's 29, going to be 30. I don't personally think you're going to get a team to give up 2 firsts for him or something like that. I do think it's going to be maybe a 1st and a 4th, or something like that, maybe a second and third. It was somewhere in that range. That's my personal opinion. I know I was talking to Sarge, Tony Libretto about it yesterday amongst, my brother Tim and, a bunch of you guys that messaged me. My personal opinion, if the Lions are going to go that route, give up the draft picks this year. Don't do it where it's, 2025 and 6. Cut just rip that Band-Aid off, get it done this year so you get your full draft picks back sooner. At least that's the way I'm thinking. Rob, be groovy and smash that button for Coach Dan the Man. Thank you for that. Lions Talk Live fan, Ben Johnson making, quote, deals in November. I guess I don't know. John King, good morning, Coach and crew. Everyone should be mad. This team is too good to lose a playoff game like that. If you play your best and lose, it's one thing, but that was bad. Yeah, it was not our best look at all out there, John. You can point to the turnovers. You can point to the D. It's a combination of things. It is a symbiotic relationship between all three aspects of the team. Rob, the Lions are mad as heck, and they're not going to take it anymore. No, I personally think this offseason is key. Whether or not Brand Holmes trades for, whoever, whether he signs whoever, I don't know that stuff. We'll figure that all out in time. But I do think this team is going to be vastly different and fueled come this next September. Jordy, all I want is an edge rusher who gets home or at least gets plenty of quarterback hits via free agency or draft picks. Brand Holmes, please don't fail us. Now, no, I don't think you will. Exclamation points, by the way. Troy D, I think you and I and probably most of the Duke crew, we're all thinking alike there. What we need to do to make this happen. Darcy, Ben Johnson's contract is going to get a lot of other coaches in the league asking for a raise. I see what you're talking about there. And yes, his contract is, man, he got a whole lot for a rookie head coach. Just Detroit D, I think it's our biggest need. I would agree with that. That is get that other guy or two on the D line and the whole D goes next level. Yeah, the more pressure you can put on the quarterback without having to blitz, 5, 6, 7 dudes. Yeah, you're right. You'll be able to elevate that D exponentially. Manuel laughing. Okay. This is funnier than last year. All right. I guess I don't know. See, Hatman, morning all. Same to you. France, good morning, Duke crew. I try to be as objective as possible when it comes to the Lions. In my opinion, we are a pretty complete team, but with this offseason, I do feel we need 2 more home runs on defense. Yeah, and I get that, man. Whether it's the draft, free agency, or trade, if you could add 2 dudes to that defense that just really take us next level, you think about the safety position with Kirby and Brian Branch, and maybe they put another person back there. It's got to be the best in the NFL, if not top 2 at least. How about that? Now that defensive line, if we do get some home run pieces up there, it's got to be in the top, at least 3, I would think, of the NFL. Linebackers, I think, are stable. You can obviously add more there, but right there, that defense looks pretty dang tough. Marcus, good morning. Dan and Duke crew. What do you have to say? Get Garrett? Yeah, I'd be okay with it. I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up 2 first rounders for a 30-year-old. I just think you would set the franchise back a little bit there. But that being said, he is pretty dang good. He is a gold jacket dude. Marcus, good morning, Hatman. Trey, what is good? What is Manuel? We'll find out. Hatman, morning, Moonscar. Steve, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan and the Mountain Dew crew. Exclamation point. You all know how I feel about Myles Garrett. This guy will make the whole defense better instantly. Woo! No, I think you're on the same page as everybody else, man. 70. Good morning, boys. Exclamation point. Dropping the kids off, hitting the gym, and having a day off while listening in. Everyone give Coach a woo for hitting varsity win 400 last night. That's my favorite coach ever. Thanks for that, 70. You know what? You were one of my favorite players ever, no doubt about it. Of course, coaches don't have a favorite player. They don't do that, but you're in their shrine of elite ones. How about that? And thank you for that. Let's see. Moonscar, FYI, Coach Dan got his 400th career win last night. In case you didn't know how I had to put it out there, Coach. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it was a big win last night. Steve, congratulations, Coach, on 400 wins. You're the man, dog. Thank you for that. Thank you. Big Eddie, greetings, salutations. Feel the same way, France Fernand. I don't know if that means getting MG or MC. Max Crosby. We all have we have all the talent in the world on O. Just now need to get the D to take it up a notch. All right, guys. I see he's standing on deck, so let's head on over and bring on the special guest of the day. Anthony, how you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing good, Dan. Hope you and the Dew crew are all well on this fine Tuesday.
I think we are. And, speculation burns eternal in the offseason. Who's going where? Who's signing where? Who's getting traded? What are the Lions going to do in free agency, the draft, the whole shebang and bang? So let's start with this. Amik Robinson came out yesterday, amongst other Lions players, working press row and at the Pro Bowl games, talking about this offseason, how motivated they are for next year. When you look at the loss in Washington Commanders, how big of an impact do you think this will have emotionally on the Detroit Lions this offseason?
Oh, it's going to sting. Like, you win 15 games and you get the number 1 seed and then you're bounced in the first round of the playoffs. That's going to hurt. And the one thing this team has shown throughout its 4 years so far under Brad and Dan is that when they hit a roadblock and they're knocked down, they will come back with a vengeance. They will get after you. You never lose 2 games in a row. You always come back. And I expect them to do that. Like, last year, I still view last year as a positive step forward. 15 wins for the first time, first seed for the first time. Like, this team's still going in the right direction. Yeah, it didn't go as far in the playoffs, but, this will be their biggest wake-up to date now. There's nothing left you can do other than go to a Super Bowl at this point. You've been to the NFC Championship game. You've broken all your individual and team records. Right now, the only thing you can do to keep going ahead is to make a Super Bowl. So I would imagine they're all pissed, and they're going to take this with them.
When you look at the Lions offense, I would think most observers would say, we're pretty stacked on offense. Whether or not we're signing Kevin Zeitler, I don't know. But that offensive line, I'm assuming Christian Mahogany is going to step in and probably play pretty well at least. You look at the weapons that they have at tight end, running back, receiver, they're pretty stacked. What would you do to improve this team to really help aid them this offseason get to the Super Bowl?
I mean, you've just got to continue to be diligent with your building. Just make sure any obvious holes are addressed. I mean, if Zeitler doesn't come back, you would probably expect him maybe to go. Well, depending on what Graham Glasgow is, you can move Glasgow back to right guard. His now more natural position, let him heal up over the year and then move Mahogany in, or you bring another vet in just while Mahogany works his way into the team, or to replace Glasgow if he's not good enough. You just continue to be diligent. Like, we've been good in the free agent market. We've been good in the draft. Keep getting these guys coming through and, build depth as and where you can. And just, try and give yourself, just keep doing what you're doing, really.
We're all going to be tied to the screens waiting to see, is there some sort of breaking news this offseason about a player A being traded? Brad Holmes saying skip them picks or whatever. In your honest opinion, do you think the Lions, Brad Holmes, make some sort of super trade or whatever to get a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, or somebody else we're not considering?
All I will say on this is, and I think I said it when I was on with you yesterday, don't just dismiss the possibility that they might do this, because, up until this point, 4 years from where they've been building from, you've had to build diligently through the draft. You've had to be sensible in free agency. You don't give out big contracts, long contracts, risky contracts, etc., because you've had to build your team from scratch. You are now at a position where you have the cornerstones of your team here. You have one of the league's best offenses. You've got playmakers everywhere. You've got good young players everywhere. Your window's here. And now when these players start to come on the market, attitudes change. The way you build your roster can change. And you've got to make a decision on what you figure is going to be best for you going forward. I mean, with Garrett especially, like I said, just don't say no to it. Like, the most important thing I've learned, podcast, I'm very stout in my views and I will be very stubborn in that, but you've always got to entertain 2 sides of the argument. And people who argue against Garrett will go, it's going to cost a lot of money. What if he gets injured? You're not doing it the right way as you were. You're going to shorten our window. It's not going to be as big. Well, let's look at the counter side to that. One, is he going to get injured? Dude's missed 3 games in 5 years. He is very healthy. He is very physical. He is the exact type of player you want on this team. And he's one of the league's best players. And he's not won a Super Bowl, which is critical. He's still going to have that hunger out there to go and win one for him. 2, it's at a position of need. We've had problems at edge for a decade and more now. even with Hutch here, we've tried through the draft, we've tried through free agency to supplement him with a partner, and we've failed, and it's cost us. So at some point, we're going to have to look at a different way of doing this. And three, the window. A lot of people go, oh, yeah, well, I want the longer window. I want more years of being able to compete for a Super Bowl, or yada, yada. Okay, that's fine. But again, you're sort of telling me here that teams that go all in, it can blow up in their face and it can go downhill very quickly. But let me offer you an alternative theory as well. If you want to do the thing of trying to keep your window open as long as possible, look at the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. They, every single year, are competing. They have a roster that can go and do the job. And what are they doing? Neither of them have been to a Super Bowl. Hell, they've only been to one AFC championship game each.
Right.
And they have become accustomed to being the punching bag for Kansas City. They don't care that they keep losing to them every year. Why? Because having the long, elongated window where you've forever been a outside competitor, there's always next year. That goes from a truth to an excuse very quickly. They don't care that they lost to Kansas again next year. Why? Because there's next year. There's next year. There's next year. And at some point, you've got to get brave. And you've got to say, well, how about this is going to be my year? I'm going to put the effort in to go and do this. I'm going to give myself a real opportunity here. Because, hell, even if Garrett does go down injured, we still got Hutch.
Right.
This year when Hutch went, there was nobody. We talk about having depth. We had depth. Al-Qadim Muhammad, Pat O'Connor, guys like this who came and were very good in rotation and are good depth pieces. But we had no impact player to replace him at all. And, you know, you suddenly have to give idea to the credence that maybe a move like this will be beneficial to us. Yes, having the window open for as long as possible is great, but it also leads to a lax attitude where you kind of stop caring if you lose because there's next year. That's my point on it. So there's two sides to the argument. Personally, would I do it? It all depends on the price. Everything depends on the price and what it is there. But I'm not just going to dismiss it and just say, no, it can't happen regardless without giving it thought.
So just because I know that this offseason, we've already heard about, Garrett to Detroit, Max Crosby to Detroit, Timbuktu to Detroit. If you're Brad Holmes and you had to choose to make some big splash trade for one of those guys or somebody else, who would you trade for, in your opinion? Who would be the best fit here? And what would you be willing to give up to acquire that person?
I mean, you go for the position of, you go for the value here. You go for the edge rusher. That is what we really need. Cooper Kupp, we don't need Cooper Kupp, really, do we? We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. We've got Jameson Williams. Hell, if you want the third guy, you bring Tim Patrick back at a good price because he balled out and did really well for us last year. We do not have a problem in the receiving core. We have depth in the receiving core. You've got Laporta here. You've got Gibson can catch it. Don't need that. You need to go. If you're going to bring in a trade, it's got to be at a position of dire need for you that you've tried to fix before and you haven't. And for us, glaringly obvious is getting to the quarterback. Jaden Daniels had all the time that we had to blitz him consistently again and again and again. Why? Because we didn't have any pass rushers. And what did he do? He tore us to bits. It is a glaring need on this team. Now, people might say corner and that. I like our corner room. I like our safety room. That can continue to be supplemented through the draft, and it's going to be very good. The edge room is the one where you've tried a lot of times. We've tried Pascal. Yeah. We've tried Davenport. We've tried all these guys. Kaminsky, it's not been healthy. Injuries have killed us. Lack of form has killed us. Lack of development has killed us. So that's just the area. That is the area every single time that seems to be the issue for us. So go and bring a second elite guy in. And it's not the end of the world. The way Brad's dealt with the cap keeps going up. We've got guys like, Decker who will eventually come to the end of his contract and be replaced. Like some of these contracts will go and you can put new ones on. Everyone, going, woe betide me, will not be able to pay all our guys. Well, unfortunately, Garrett or not, you're probably not going to be able to pay them all. You can't have one of the highest paid tackles in the league, receivers, edges, safeties, linebackers, which is what you're going to do. It's just not feasible for a roster. So I would go out and get him, and bringing him here is not going to shorten it by that much. Brad always drafts well, so even if you do have to have a bit of a retool, we'll be back quick enough. So that would be the move I'd make, would be at the edge position. It's just the one thing we've never been able to truly solve with Hutch, along with Hutch. Obviously not including him in this, but you've got to have a couple of guys.
So when you look at the Detroit Lions and the fact that we have drafted some edges, they just haven't panned out. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's something to do with coaching, maybe just the evaluation in the draft process? And if it's a big enough worry for you there, Anthony, is that compelling evidence that we need to go trade for a proven edge rusher versus trying to draft someone?
We've had rotten injury luck there. Like, you think all the way back to Romeo Okwara. Like, Romeo Okwara had his big contract year. We gave him a lot of money. He got hurt. Charles Harris, we bought him in at the start of this regime, had a really good year, paid him a lot of money, got hurt. Like, these were guys who were productive and would have been good bookends, and it just didn't happen. And then obviously you've had the injury to Kamish, which hasn't helped. Then you've brought in some free agents who have injury history like Davenport. It's not really helped there. And then draft wise, I think, you know, they've invested, like in Pascal, they've invested. They call it the can crusher, don't they? The run stopper. You invest in the run stopping edges, but you don't invest in the edges who also have the technique and the pass rush arsenal to get to the quarterback. Outside, and I keep saying this, outside of Aleem and Hutch, who is technically gifted at rushing the passer here, who has the pass rush arsenal, who has the ability to collapse the pocket really quickly. We don't seem to value that, which is why when it comes to this draft, if we don't get Garrett, fine. But if we go edge rusher at 28 or we trade up for one, you don't look for the guy who's uber athletic. You don't look for the guy who's uber strong. You look for the guy who's got a pass rush arsenal, who can get to the quarterback quickly and you know, affect it that way. Hitting the QB is the problem we've always had outside of Hutch and Aleem. So you've got to, you know, reassess what you want there. You need a guy who can edge against the run, fine. But an edge rush has got to get to the quarterback, and we just don't seem to have valued that very highly. That's, for me, where we've gone wrong with it. We've just put too much emphasis into the run-stopping part of it,
right?
Not the hitting the quarterback. You've got to find a nice equilibrium there.
All right, so I'll get just a couple more questions at you, and then we'll get you on out of here and onto your day. If you're Brad Holmes right now, you're looking over all the different things that this team has. We do have a lot of free agents. Are there a couple guys you say we must bring back this offseason? Or are there a couple guys that we're just going to say, hey, we're going to let go of?
I mean, the guys you've invested in over the last few years you want to bring back, like, I would bring Derek Barnes back. I would bring Levi Onwuzurike back. and how you do it, because we've been very patient with them, with Barnes with his development, Levi with his injuries. You give them 1 year deals, good value 1 year deals for what they're worth, and just say, look, let's have another year. You can either play yourself into a much bigger contract here, or you can go out into free agency and make your money. That's what it's about. But we've invested in these guys. Levi's been a big part for us this year. You need interior depth, especially with Aleem not going to be healthy for the start of next season. So I prioritize bringing him back. The same with Barnes. I mean, depending on what scheme you want to run and whatever, you know, Kelvin's going to do. But again, for what we've invested in, we need good blitzers. You need to help supplement that defensive line to get to the quarterback. Him and Iffy are the few guys in those second two levels who can really properly blitz. So you'll want to bring him back. And then the rest, I think you'll get a lot of the free agents who'll probably come back on the practice squad, who'll come to training camp, you know, Moody, guys like that, who you'll bring in. The only ones I'd really get rid of are the injury crocs. Like, you say goodbye to Mosley, you know, done out the building.
Right.
Kaminsky, I think, is Kaminsky a free agent now?
I think he is, yeah.
Depending on, I mean, at least give him a chance, bring him back. But if the injury report's no good, we've got to minimize the threat of injuries to this team. We've just got to get as many, like Mosley, you're done now. Sorry, we've invested 3 years in you. You've given us nothing. That's enough time. We need to start trying to get healthier players onto the roster, and you've got to try and minimize your chances of getting hit by the injury bug. So guys like that, I'd say bye to. But the ones we've drafted and developed, I would like to try and keep them at least another year.
When you look at here's a question for you: Iffy Melifanu or Carlton Davis or both? You'll bring one of them back, none of them back, or both of them back?
I think you bring both back. Again, it's all down to price and what you get for. Obviously, if he's another one, if you can get him at a decent value for the year, because he can still be much better. If all he needs is one healthy season playing the way he does, and then that negates the need for a safety in the draft as well. If you can bring him back, you can bring him in for a good value. You've got one less draft need. You can focus elsewhere. I bring him back. And Carlton, of course, we need corners. We need a leading corner. Him and Terrion, I think, play very well together. I think they're suited to our system. Again, that depends on the price, though, because that's the sort of level guy where you're like, is that money best spent towards my youngsters and, renegotiating them or putting it on? But then, of course, that kind of means you've probably got to go corner in the draft again quite high at some point. So it's fine balance. It's all to do with money, but I would bring them back if the price was right.
All right. Anthony, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where they can find you, your awesome work. And as always, thank you for coming on the show.
No, appreciate it as always, Dan. So yeah, you can find me at Roar of the Lions UK, a group of Detroit Lions fans from across the pond. So if you want to come and check out your Lions news and views from a British perspective, please do so. We'll be happy to see you there. As I say, thanks ever so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope the Dew crew have a great day. And we'll do this again next week.
Looking forward to it, my friend. Have a great week.
You too. You take care. See you all.
Thanks, Anthony. All right, let's get back over to the Dew Crew comments, see what you guys have to say before we wrap this show on up. Dr. Troy, the defense line isn't great after Hutch went down and no pressure. Please stop already. All right, Southwest. Dr. Troy, what would you give up to get Garrett? Ooh, that's a good question. Dr. Troy, 2 firsts and hooker. Well, a good hooker is always a throw-in. JDC, Dr. Troy, yep. Let's see, Motown Mitch. Let's see. Moss was considered a wash leaving Oakland, gave up nothing for Moss next. This is correct. And he did revitalize his career for a couple more seasons. Rob, the 1996 Red Wings had 62 wins, 131 points, and came up short. In 97, team won 38, 94 points, and we know how that ended. McCarthy scored a spectacular Game 4 winner to clinch the cup. Hey, how about that? Dr. Troy, a first hooker and JMO in a third. All right, there you go. Motown Mitch, I'm not arguing with Ig. All right, fair enough. Dr. Detroit, Southwest Line, Dr. Detroit, there's going to be competition with Washington, excuse me. It will be interesting to see how much either team ends up giving up. Yeah, and the Commanders have some cap too, so that's not that we don't, but they've got a little bit more room. Motown Mitch, hate facts, huh? You Destinies, some people can't handle facts, all right? Emmanuel, that's a sucker's trade. Hooker and JMO aren't that good. I would say we don't know about Hendon Hooker, so we assume, but we don't know. Hey, a lot of times those backup quarterbacks end up becoming Hall of Famers. Just look at Kurt Warner, Tom Brady, heck, at one point Warren Moon, Doug Williams. You get your shot, you take advantage of it. Motown Mitch, understand. Dr. Detroit, Southwest, I know, and if we have to play against him, we are in a bad way. Thomas, fans remember the D-line under Glenn was 95% bull rush. That actual design does not work to get to the quarterback. It's more designed to corral. That must change, all right? Philippines on demand. Just got here. Who's mad? Amik Robertson. Rick Straw, he's not a star, but the only one I've seen speaking out. All right, Dr. Detroit, Manuel, why don't you go to your losing team's channel? What, they stink so bad that they don't have one, so you show up here. I do sometimes wonder, but hey, I'm glad fans of other teams seem to be so interested in ours. Dr. Detroit, Motown, I can't handle ignorant people. I understand that. Southwest, Dr. Detroit, it all comes down to injuries. If the Lions had not been ravaged by on defense injury-wise, I think they'd be in the Super Bowl now. I agree with that. I think they probably would have been. JC, Puff, woo, coffee, and Lions Talk Live. Gotta love it. Dr. Detroit, maybe Southwest, maybe. All right, Brian, why talking draft picks? Trade some dang players. I get that, Brian, but the only thing I would say is most of the players that I'm assuming the Browns or whoever else you'd be talking to in trades that would want, those are pretty good players for you. So now you're having to replace those players. Dr. Detroit, but if my aunt had, I'm down with that, Dr. Detroit, we have 2 Lombardi trophies, been to 5 Super Bowl games. What team's that, Emmanuel? I guess I don't know. Let's see. Emmanuel Broski, probably. William, what about Trey Hendrickson? He's somebody I think might be available as well this offseason. So again, no different than Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or whoever else, could be somebody of interest. Dr. Right Manuel, great for you. Why not go there and cheer? That's a great question there. Philippines, by the way, hello, Dan. I'm going to be the minority on this, but I don't want to trade for Miles. I'm thinking long term. I think it's better to stay the course and build from the draft. Yeah, that could be what they do, 100%. Miles Barter, great salutations, Ant-Man. Dr. Troy, Lebanon, we have a Super Bowl from 84. Rolf, okay, yeah, it must be the Bears fan then. Motown Mitch, if ignorance, you hate it, what does the Pats give up for Mossigan? Yeah, I don't think it was much. I think it was like a 6th-round pick or something like that. Let's see, JDC, Magic 8-Ball says defense wins the big one. I concur. Phil, Broski gets timed out. How about that? Dr. Detroit, Motown, they picked up elite players every Super Bowl. Brown, there you go. Dr. Detroit, thanks, Phil. Southwest Lion, Philippines on demand. Lions need to do a deep dive this offseason on the injuries. Why did they have so many skipping injuries, more on defense, and why, if any, can they be done to reduce it? Well, I think a lot of the injuries of the defense were from friendly fire. I can think of at least 3 or 4 that were friendly fire injuries. So guys coming into pursuit, help gang up on tackles. What do you do to stop that? I don't think there's much you can do unless you're just going to say, hey, everybody get them down on your own. Motown Mitch, what did they give up for Brown? That I don't know offhand. Thomas, for Garrett, Hendon, Levi, Martin. Well, Levi's a free agent. Martin, all right, this year's 1st and 6th. We get Garrett and their next year's 4th. Maybe. Ken, good morning, everybody. Back at you. Rob, we should pass that hat and get Broski some therapy. I think Broski needs a lot of therapy. Philippines, draft Mike Green if you can. He's fast. He can contain an edge, run mobile quarterbacks down, and even great at linebacker. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen him really play linebacker. Maybe he does, though. Let's see, Brown, good morning. Back at you. Phil, Broski loves his fame. Broski is one bored individual. Phil, any man you shaved? All right. Ant-Man you shaved. All right. How about that? Philippines, Thomas, this isn't, man. You are not getting miles for those guys. Come on. All right. I got you, Phil. I got you. Southwest, whatever you think of Stafford post-trade, I give him credit for playing as well as he has. There was a lot of pressure on him with all the assets the Rams gave up from. Yeah, and, somebody had this on whatever show it was yesterday. I think it was Rich Eisen. You go back and revisit the Stafford trade. And I had forgotten about it, but they brought up the point that there was 2 different playoff games that the Rams nearly lost. I think one of them they said was Tampa Bay, where Brady and the Buccaneers coming off the Super Bowl nearly beat the Rams. If Rams lose that game, and then they brought up the 49ers game, I think it was in the NFC title match. If they lose that game, do we all go back and look at that Stafford Goff trade and say, man, Rams were complete idiots for giving up all that because they didn't even make it to the Super Bowl. So that would be the one thing that if the Lions do give up a bunch of picks to acquire player A, B, or C, and they don't make it to the Super Bowl, well, then we're going to all look at that trade and say that was the worst trade ever. I do get that logic, though. But me, myself, and I probably still roll the dice. Detroit DJ, this is the season. It is. Thomas, Glasgow is not a starter any longer. I would agree with that. He needs to be a backup only. Okay. Dr. Detroit, Christian Frada, Patrick Chung, Antoine Smith, Randy Moss, Junior Sale, Ron Nikovich, Dion Lewis, Daryl Rivas, Mike Rabel. Man, we got a list here just to name a few. Motown. Okay. Philippines, Thomas, you're Philippines. At least I got an ID and throwing it out there. That's where I start. Okay. See, Avery T, Cup salary is too high unless he renegotiates his contract. Yeah, personally, myself, I mean, if we go get him, great. Maybe I'm going to trust on the ownership and the coaching staff front office. I just don't like the fit here. It's not that he's not a great player, but I just think his time is past. And his injury history is what really concerns me. I mean, if we know he's going to stay healthy, then fine. Philippines, Southwest Lane, call me crazy, but I don't think we will do anything different. I honestly just believe it was just a freak season, not the norm. Yeah, I'll go with that. Motown, allow me, Dr. Detroit, seeing how you seem to know Brown was Khaled cause he was waived, traded, nothing, and Moss was a 4th given up. Sure, claim Mike's if he is cut or give up a 4th. All right. Southwest, I'd rather have Tim Patrick than Cooper Kupp. There'll be some people who say that. Again, Kupp is more of a luxury than a real need. Okay. Oh boy, here we go. JDC, you're probably right. Manuel, to win the Super Bowl, you got to take a chance and mortgage the house. We'll see. Vincent, Glasgow released. Okay. Southwest, Plus, I think Kupp wants to stay with the Rams. I don't want a player who would rather be with another team. Yeah, I agree with that. Danny Amadella, yeah, okay, well, something's going on here that I must have missed in the comment section. I am liking Anthony's thinking better than last season with all we need is Brad Holmes drafts, okay? Philippines, Z. Smith is not talking to Garrett. That would only lead to his demise. The Lions would cut him to save cap space. All right, is looking for out for number one. Kupp, no, focus on defense. I agree with that. Again, this needs to do whatever they can to keep the O-line as one of the best in the NFL. I agree with that. Starters in depth, O-line is the heartbeat of this team. I agree with that. Dr. Detroit knows Z will be a rotational, not cut. Anthony gets it, finally. Love it. Lauren, Anthony, you are a Michigan Panthers fan too. Trim Reaper, Kupp is one of the best route runners. Sure hand and chemistry with Goff. He's be the best third option league. If they feel like he'll stay healthy, I think you're right. That would be a nice move. Southwest Line, no interest in Kupp. Motown Mitch. Everyone you've named is either a free agent or the Pats gave up nothing to get him. Go ahead and name a player the Pats gave up 2 firsts for and still be waiting. Don't win multiple Super Bowls trading away your future. Okay. All right. Only got a couple minutes left here, so I'm going to kind of power through, try to find some people who haven't been on as much. Vincent Kupp might retire rather than getting traded. That's could be true. Dr. Detroit, true Philippines, Motown. You're right. Pure ignorance. You've been spewing. Big difference between 2 first-round picks and 4ths, and the Pats gave up for Moss. Okay. See a couple other people that haven't been on here. Motown Mitch. Second round like Brian Branch and LaPorta. Okay. Such trash. Philippines, I totally agree. I'm not sure. Raised a few eyebrows. I'm sure it did. Here's Johnny. Houston was a disappointment. Oh, I'll go with that. See, Thomas, Southwest Line, good take on Hendon, but I do believe there's a lot of interest still in Hendon. Yeah, could be. We'll find out this offseason. Trim Reaper, from undesirable to undeniable. Go Lions. Woo! Back at you. Let's see. Dynamite, what do you got? Retard people trying to mortgage the team for one player. All right, I'll go with that, and I would agree. Vincent, yeah, mostly can kick rocks. Yeah, I'm thinking his NFL career is probably donezo, in my opinion. Dr. Detroit, laughing out snowflakes can call people what they want. When you square off with them, they melt. Rough must be generational thing. All right, Dynamite. If getting Garrett costs me Kirby, Branch, Gibbs signing, I'm not doing it. Yeah, I agree with you there. Philippines on demand. I don't want Garrett. Long-term value is not worth it. All right, laughing out loud says Dr. Detroit. JDC, I ain't scared. Go Lions. Miles Barger. See ya. Anthony, Roar Lions UK. DM5. You bring back CD3. Exclamation point. He was huge for us. Imagine if he hadn't gotten injured. Yeah, 100%. I like him. 100% there. Dr. Detroit is questioning. Mr. Morale, iffy is too iffy for me. I see what you did there, by the way. Kim, Dr. Detroit, not opposed to getting Garrett or another very good veteran. Just don't sell the future. Look at the cost and impact for the team. Yeah, I'd say you got to make a case-by-case judgment there. Derek thinks, man. Man Bear, good morning. Back at you. Let's see, other people that haven't been on here as much. Earl, Detroit needs to get Garrett. We'll see what happens. And good to see you, Earl. It's been a hot minute. Detroit D, why is everyone trying to get rid of J-Mo? I personally hope we don't, but I also get why some people may want to look at deals. DM5, the Rams mortgaged the future and won a chip since they're still competitive and made playoffs the last 2 years. Yeah, I mean, that's where I think DM5, they gave up a ton of draft picks, as we all know, but you got to give a lot of praise to their scouting department because last year they didn't have a ton of picks, but they made late-round picks work for them. And then the past draft, they did very well with it. Yeah, we got that one. Sorry about that. Thomas, why don't we bring back Carlton Rakestraw is a must-starter. Okay. Let's see, Manuel. If you guys don't get Garrett, look at Salvation Jones of LSU. Thank you for that. Dr. Detroit, he had 1,000 yards this season. Seems more personal than what he does on the field. Yeah, I like the guy. I think, hey, did he have a few hiccups over the season? Sure. But I also think he's evolving and maturing. Rob Eddie, backup didn't well for himself. His name is Dominic Hasek. Yes, Eddie Belford's backup. Correct with that. I'd say one funky Hendon on his rookie deal should not be a thought. Moving him means they need to sign one for around 5 times the cost or draft another late round guy. It's just ridiculous to think how many want to. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, and I think you're spot on with the cost of it all. No, Brian Brady always saying dumb stuff. Okay. David, What's the man across the pond show? Oh boy, Roar the Lions UK. Sorry about that. Had a moment there. DM5. Just make sure there's enough money to sign Hutch, Kirby, Gibbs, and Branch. Yeah, I would go with that. Paul, it's going to take Khalil Mack for 1 first pick. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I got to get a pop up off the screen there. Shaft, imagine hating on a coach for 2 years just for him to become your team's head coach. Yeah, well, but hopefully they feel different about Ben Johnson right now. And see, Sign Service Claimant would ask for a king's ransom, go after Max Crosby instead. Asking price would be lower. Yeah, might be. Rob, you roll the dice, you move your mice. There you go. See, Manuel, Crosby not leaving now. He's got a Super Bowl winning coach. Yeah, do they have a Super Bowl winning quarterback? I know some people are saying Myles Garrett to the Raiders. I guess if I'm Myles Garrett, I would look at that situation and say, how is that really exponentially different than what I have here, where he's currently at? Moonscar, you have to give him a couple firsts for a quarterback to get you over the top, but not for any other position. Okay? DM5, would you guys trade JMO for a straight up with Tyreek Hill? I would not, but that's just me. Southwest DM5 TV, Hill is going to be 31. Yeah, correct. Dimitri, what up, Dan? What up to you? Hopefully you're having a great day, my friend. What's our last 3 seasons? Cup played 12 games, and 9 games after his 1,900-yard season, not overpaying for wide receiver 3. Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's see, JDC, happy trails, go Lions victory. We'll see you next time. DM5, if the price is right and the Chiefs don't re-sign him, we could go after Nick Bolton. Ooh, there you go. Dr. Troy, I don't want to get rid of JMO, but we will be able to keep him. That is the question. Will we be able to keep him? Is he worth it? I'm 50-50 on it. Yeah, I'm just going to trust him, whatever they choose to do on him. Henry Moore, keep them all but the sick, lame, and lazy. All right. Let's see, Dr. Troy, Mac is a nice option too. Yeah, at the right price for a rotational guy. Him, Zadarius Smith, Aiden Hutchinson. Now draft somebody, maybe sign somebody else on free agency. Any more smile and thumbs up for those folks whose side of the road on the way to the Super Bowl? Okay, Dimitri, this is why you're all not GMs, laughing out loud. Let JMO go, shake my head. All right, Mutskar, Manuel is not Broski. Stop letting Broski live rent-free in your heads. We've had other trolls in here besides him. He's not the only one out there. You're correct. There could be many. Bo, happy trails, Duke crew. All done and dusted for another day. See you tomorrow. We'll see you then. Dr. Detroit, Raiders, share shopping Crosby now. Could be. You guys need to watch more than Lions talk. All right. Dynamite, Dr. Detroit, where'd you see that? Raiders channel. Motown Mitch can see anything with an imagination. I'll go with that. Well, One Pride Worldwide. Okay. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you guys as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you would be so kind before leaving, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that share button, that like button. As you guys know, it all helps out exponentially with the channel's growth. Be a good human being. Do something nice for somebody you don't know. Hey, say something kind to people in need, and we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Excuse me, sir, would you... Donations to the Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus? Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism? How Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology? Or nuclear power?